I thought I'd give you some information on techniques that we use in the classroom. They are based on Read Write Ink, but we use them throughout, so you can use them through your writing, reading, or anything with the children. A few really basic things that we do is my turn, your turn. So when we're talking, they know it's our turn, and then when we point to the children, it's then their turn. This is a really interactive, quick, rather than saying, put your hand up, it's your turn, it's your turn. It's very much, it stops the talking and increases the time that we have learning. Obviously, a very simple stop sign also helps, but it's to tell everybody that we're all going to stop very quickly rather than waiting. It's quick, and then we get on to the next thing. It helps, and it is used throughout. Another thing that we use throughout is tick and fix, which I'll explain to you as well, and just thought it would be really handy to know a few different things. So when we are showing the cards at the beginning, we teach the new sound, we do the in and out. So we ask the children to be really interactive. We then put the card inside and we're asking them to find it. When they see the card coming, the one that they've spotted, we ask them to point and say the sound just like the other ones. That encourages us to know that they are recognising that new sound. Now, with the other techniques we do when we're on the carpet, we do this, and that means turn to your partner. So rather than saying, you talk to you, you talk to you, we set the children up in partners, and that's the partner they work with. But the simple sign, they know that that's what that means. This gives them opportunity to talk about what we've learned, the story that we've just heard, and just gives suggestions and ideas. It encourages their imagination and really helps with then their writing further on. Then when we use the different coloured cards, now a green card when we have the words on means that they can Fred talk. Now Fred talk means that they can decode the word, and the green cards have dots and dashes. So this card here has dots, so that shows that there's sounds on every dot. Now the sounds are the phonemes, and the formation of the letter is the grapheme. So on this sound we'd expect the children, we hold it here for them, and very often we use it here so that we know they're looking at us, we can see them, and also when we're learning new sounds, they can see the way that we're forming our lips so that they can then recreate that. So when we do Fred talk, we'd be g, I, v, e, n, given, and then we'd ask the children to tweak it, because unfortunately the English language has got lots of funny sounds and we have to tweak things. So given, so we decode by spotting, and then we'd later on, when they get more confident, take those dots away and be asking them to do it without. Now when we do this, we'd say special friends, Fred talk, say the word. Now when there's a word like this has a dash. Now this shows that these two sounds are special friends. Obviously later on we'd like them to recognise without those dashes, but here we'd say special friends, they'd nod and they would say ah. Then we'd say Fred talk and they'd say ah d. And then we'd say the word and they would say hard. Now the key is, when we've got it here, the children are doing it in their brains. Begin with, obviously they'd say it out loud, and we then encourage them to do Fred in your head. So Fred is a little frog. We encourage them to talk to Fred and talk like Fred. He's our Read Write Ink frog, and that helps them recognise that green is the Fred talk. So here when we do the dots, when we say special friends, we'd try and expect the children to be going Fred talk, g, I, v, e, n. With this one, we'd ask them to say the sound, which seems a little bit crazy because you're saying the sound and then you're re-saying the word, but it helps them encourage and learn those special friends. Now on top of that, we have red words. Now red words, we say, you can't Fred a red, and the reason being these are words that are exception words to the rule. You can't sound them out, we just have to learn them, and the children accept that red means you can't Fred it. On top of those, obviously we don't teach this all at once. but it's gradual, but it helps you to know the techniques that we're using. These are alien words, nonsense words. Now we say, "What a load of nonsense," or they're alien, "Nina, Nina." And so by making it a fun activity, we are asking the children to use their knowledge in Special Friends and Fred Talk to sound out words. When it comes to the Year 1 assessments, which the children aren't aware of, they just read sounds just as they would during a phonics session, but it'd just be 1-to-1 instead. They are asked to read some alien words. Nonsense. They are nonsense, and they are tricky. But what we're asking the children to do is spot the Special Friends. So with this one, we'd ask them to spot the trigraph I, and then Fred Talk, P-R-I-T, prite. And if they can spot the Special Friends, it just helps them read the words. And that helps us recognise that the children can or can't recognise those Special Friends. So on to spellings. When we spell with the children, we show them the words. We'd show them once, then we do a speed session, and then we go to the tables. And the reason we do it in quite a speedy fashion is that they've learnt them and then they're seeing them, so they can then spell them instantly. And by practicing that, rather than reading it, and then spelling it later on, it's quite disjointed. So by seeing it and then spelling it, combines them all together. Now what we do is obviously have a whiteboard at the front of the desk or the table, and we obviously have large ones at home. I have a small one. The children would sit at their desks with their partner they've sat on the table, and then that's the helper next to them. So while you're at home, if you could be their partner and let them help you as well, and you help them, that's lovely. So what we'd do, if we were spelling the word hard, I'd say hard, hard, and I'd expect the children to be repeating when I put my hands out. I'd then say fingers. Now what we're asking the children to do is to recognise the sounds. So if you see on here, there's 3 sounds, okay? So 1, 2, 3. So we'd say fingers. We'd ask the children to be pinching the sounds. Now this helps then for them when they write it. So we pinch the sounds with the hands we don't write with, so that they then have them there ready, and then they can write with the other hand. So we'd say pinch the sounds, and then we'd say show me, and we'd ask them. We then, as an adult, would then reiterate, yes, that's right, h-a-r-d. Special Friends are h-a-r-d, hard. Write it. And so the pattern would be that they would then write it. Now instead of us keep saying write it, we just do this. And they know that that symbol means write it. Now what we'd then do is make sure everyone had a few minutes to do that, and we would write it on the board, and this is where the children then tick and fix. So we'd ask them, what's the sound? Ha. Yeah, well done, great, lovely. We'd be praising them for telling us the sounds. We'd recognise that R is the Special Friends and the D. Okay, now tick and fix. And at that point, we'd say to them, tick and fix. Now if their H is correct, we'd ask them to do a tick. If their Special Friends is correct, we'd give them a tick. Now if at this point they'd done a B, what we'd ask the children to do with a green pen, and we'd have a green highlighter. Obviously at home I haven't got a green highlighter, so I'm just using this one for now. But we'd ask them to go over with the D correctly to show that they fixed it. We don't need them to give a big cross. We don't need them to say, oh, I got it wrong. They don't need us to go and say, you did that wrong. The idea of ticking and fixing is for them to recognise their own mistakes. And that's what we encourage them to do throughout all of our learning. So yes, we do say to them, oh, do you think that's quite right? Do you think you need to tick or fix anything? And that would be our way of encouraging. But we always encourage the children to fix it themselves. Now, when we're writing sounds, obviously we do our pinch our sounds. And then when we do our activities, we have a complete a sentence. Now this is just an example one that I have. But in all the books, it shows us the start of a sentence and then a gap. And that's the start of the children to recognise a sentence. And then the next day's activity would be a hold a sentence, which means they would have to do my turn, your turn with a sentence that we decide from the story that we all liked as a group, and then we would write it together on the board, and then we'd ask the children to write it themselves with the board hidden. When we rewrite it together, we then tick and fix. Now when we're writing a sentence, we've got a rhyme that we use, and it's capital letter, finger, space, and a full stop. And that helps them remember that we do need a finger space in between those words so that we can read them. And another technique with the writing is the formation. So if you can see on here, this is how we ask them. So the letters, sometimes they're the same size as the boat. Sometimes they go all the way up to the sun, and sometimes they go under the sea. So when you're looking at the letters and you're writing them with the children at home, ask them to have a think, and you might want to just do that picture just to help them sometimes about the letters that they just find that little bit trickier to form. So hopefully that has helped. And obviously in all the books that we have, there is a combination of green words and red words, and very often we ask them to spot. Now when you're reading a normal book without it being a formation from Read Write Ink, there is obviously a combination of red words and green words that aren't highlighted. So if when you're doing things with your children, highlight them for them in the fact that that might be a tricky one, that I think that might be a red one. So you can have those discussions with you. I think that is everything that I can give you that hopefully will help, and good luck.